Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Campus Consortium's EdTalks webinar series. Our presenters for today's session are Ron Kishen, Vice President, USciences Online from University of the Sciences, Ellen Reyes, Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief Technology Officer from City College of San Francisco, and Dr. Carl Horvath, President at Campus Consortium. We will take questions at the end of today's presentation. Please enter your questions into the chat box or questions pane in your Zoom control panel. Without further ado, please allow me to present Ron Kishen, Ellen Reyes, and Dr. Carl Horvath. Over to you, Carl.
Thank you very much, Lily, much appreciated. And I want to welcome everybody here. We have very good attendance with our presentation today. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. It's hopefully a nice day where you're at, and you've taken the time to hear a little bit about what some other schools are doing. And that's the intent of these educational webinars that we offer once a month at Campus Consortium. Today we'll be talking about not just AI chatbots and mobile apps, but how they're changing. And maybe you could take that into consideration with the AI chatbots and mobile apps you have on campus too. First, a little bit about Campus Consortium. It's founded in 2003. It's been around for quite a few years, gone through many different challenging times and successful times in the education sector, mostly higher education, and really focusing on education technology. There's a number of different types of support and consultation and in-kind grants and many other programs that we offer. And if you're interested in becoming a member, we would love to have you. Just reach out to us at info@campusconsortium.org. We do have a current in-kind grant running for a chatbot right now. It's the Simplify Student Support AI chatbot. And that's offered by Black Belt Help, who is our sponsor for today's presentation. So thank you to Black Belt Help, and thank you for the other vendors that have attended. We do have quite a mix. We have had over 150 individuals register for this webinar. Out of the 150, there's over 100 individual higher education institutions, and then the rest are different organizations that are nonprofit, some vendors and many others. And we encourage any vendors that would like to work with us to work with our members. We welcome outreach from you. So I'm going to get right into what we're going to talk about today, and that is mobile apps and chatbots. We certainly have seen a lot of increased use with that, particularly because of COVID in the past 2 years. Great dependency. Everybody had to make that shift to complete online learning and creating a mobile workforce for their institution. And certainly these tools go a long way toward making things not just easier for internal staff and departments, but certainly it helps students interact more effectively with your institution. So mobile apps, have been around for a while, and many people have them. There's a software application is what it is basically, that runs on multiple different devices. Mobile apps deliver content from multiple sources, and chatbots, there are software applications used to conduct online chat conversations, and they were often thought of as separately, but more often they are really changing lately, and we'll see that in some of the research that we've done online over the years. Before we take a look at that, it'd be great if you could answer this poll question. We'd like to keep this interactive, so you'll not only hear from our presenters, but we'd like to hear from you as well and share with the rest of the audience. So quick question for this poll question. Does your institution have a mobile app? Yes, no, evaluating, not sure. Have a chatbot? Yes, no, evaluating, not sure. And are they integrated? I mean, is there something that's been done where they're not two separate things? Are they together? And yes, no, not sure, it's fine too. So any information you have, we could share that with the rest of the audience so people kind of know where most folks stand with their technology. But more and more AI chatbots in particular are becoming a critical part of interacting with students. And students really expect this interaction, particularly since they, today's students have grown up using and interacting with technology, and everything from healthcare to banking to social to gaming, the retail. These are all areas that today's students are used to using technology to either purchase something or interact with people, and they expect the same thing with our institutions as well. But a lot of times, education is a little bit behind the curve on some of the technologies, but there are cost-effective ways that institutions can access this technology. And it's not always about cost. Sometimes it's also about the expertise and the people you have internal. So it's important to make sure that you can manage it, not just financially, but from a resource standpoint. So quick look at our poll. Looks like, does your institution have a mobile app? Yes. It looks like 64% of the audience says yes. No, 12%. Evaluating, 10%. And some are not sure, about 14%. Looks like most people have the mobile app. Looks like the AI chatbot, many more people don't have one of those. It looks like several people are evaluating right now. But it's kind of good to see that mobile apps have been around for a while. AI chatbots have really started, taking off in the past few years, and the technology has been refined. And then recently, there's been a lot of discussion about how these two types of tools can work together. So thank you for participating in that poll, and we'll continue on with our introduction here. We were talking before about mobile apps and AI chatbots in the news. You can see, as far back here as 2016, there's been a steady, stories and development on chatbots and mobile technology, and people have been talking about both of these technologies for quite a while. The future of mobile apps and AI chatbots have really accelerated, especially since COVID and the dependency on them. You can see a lot of these articles from EdTech magazine and the Chronicle of Higher Education, Inside Higher Ed. A lot of these stories, 2019, 2021, they're much more recent, and a lot is being written about how the technology is changing, and also the student experience expectations. That has significantly changed in the past few years. The changing education sector means we were just having a discussion. I was having a discussion with the panelists right before we came onto the webinar, and we were talking about the impacts of particularly COVID, but also student expectations, and that the institutions really do have to respond to these things. They can't be ignored, but how do you go about doing that in a time when money is tight and staffing is tight? There are solutions out there that are affordable and really take the burden off of your internal staff and allow you to service students as they expect. You can see some of these stories are very dramatic, but in a way true. Schooling has changed forever. COVID COVID-19 pandemic has changed education forever, and it's made impact. Of course, we continue, all our institutions continue with their mission and their goals and objectives, but certainly using technology to, advance that mission is, critical in today's world. Just some highlights here. Basically, what do these tools do for an institution? Well, it takes the workload off internal staff so they can really change their focus and be more customer facing, more student oriented. They can take care of more complex issue. If you get the same question asked 100 times a day, you don't need someone to answer that question the exact same way 100 times. There are ways to do that with technology. Students expect intelligence, so they're looking for at least the chatbot part of your mobile app. Mobile apps are pretty static, but if you add the AI tool to that and integrate it, really changes how what students can get out of those applications. And they also, students, as we said, expect this information about themselves. So when you integrate these tools, they can go right into your system securely, and they can produce information back to, customized information back to the student. What are my grades? How much is my bill? Things like this can be easily answered by these platforms. And student users expect, again, the same professional interface they use every day in their other interactions in the world. So, good to keep that in mind and to focus on, definitely student expectations. As we all try to retain and increase enrollment, retain students and increase enrollment, tools like these are important. So another quick poll question for everyone. What departments and services benefit by using a mobile app or chatbot in your institution? So, sometimes if you could just, quickly answer this question, be interesting to see, which departments, are benefit from these tools, one or both tools. Sometimes these tools are acquired for, say, enrollment purposes. And so they start in the admissions department, but then, it's adopted by another department, say billing. And so maybe it's just one or two. Other institutions use it enterprise-wide. They will deploy a mobile app or AI chatbot for every question, and not just, say, IT help desk, but every department in the university or the college. So be interesting to see what the audience thinks in terms of how they're using this technology. The other thing that this question kind of points out is that these technologies can be used across the institution in multiple departments. There's no department that it can't benefit that is particularly customer facing or student facing. And it really supports and supplements the work that these departments do either over the phone or through email or chat themselves. And this is like having another work partner to help you provide the support to your students. So we're going to just move on to really talk next with our presenters, and I'll introduce you right after we take a quick look at these poll results. Looks like most of the folks are really using this across the institution, as we just said. It looks like student services is making heavier use of this in terms of these tools, as opposed to some that may not have implemented it across the institution, and of course admissions too. So that's what we figure, and that's really the way to go today because students expect this across all departments and services, typically this same type of interaction. So you definitely want to be consistent. So thank you for participating in that poll, attendees. But let me just get right to introducing our first panelist, Ron Kishen. Ron Kishen leads University Scientists Online, developing online courses and bringing the excellent education delivered on campus to students everywhere. Kishen is an accomplished businessman with vast experience in online education, having worked as Senior Vice President at University of Phoenix and Kaplan University. Ron, I know you had a lot of background, and these institutions had are very cognizant of student experience and student support, and also have often been leading with some of the technologies that many institutions want to adopt today. So be interested to hear about your experience and strategy. And Ron, welcome to the conversation. And could you tell us a little bit about the University of the Sciences, please?
Sure, we're happy to do that. Yeah, so University of Sciences is actually a 200-year-old institution, a legacy university, if you will. It was originally the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy, the first school of pharmacy in all of North America. So it's got some interesting history, and graduates were like Eli Lilly. One of the other graduates was the creator of Tylenol. So it's really a cool little university. And they did reach out to me about 2.5 years ago, and I joined a little less than 2.5 years ago to get them in the online space. They were not there. They weren't quite interested in looking at OPMs. So we built it from the ground up. And within 7 months of being there, we were enrolling our first students in our online fully asynchronous programs, and it's up and running, and it's seeing some growth, and more to come. But it's been a great challenge, and something that I've been having a lot of fun doing, actually. So I haven't done that. And to your point, and maybe we just go to this slide, to this key about what the elements are. I'm just going to speak to some of the key points here. As you shared, I was privileged enough to work with Kaplan University, which migrated and was eventually acquired by Purdue University and is now Purdue Global. It is Purdue's online arm, if you will, of the institution, and doing quite well. And after that, I had the opportunity to work with University of Phoenix, the original online higher education provider. Dr. Sperling, created this space in many ways. But the benefit of being there is compared to a very small institution, and I want to point that out. You don't have to be a big institution. Leverage, Carl just showed you lots of articles and studies out there that you can tap into and benefit to make sure you're using best practices to get into the space of mobile apps and using chatbots. But while at the University of Phoenix with some great people there, great analysts, great marketing people, and studies they did with the literally hundreds of thousands of applications they receive a year, and the 100,000 active students or whatever the number might be at this point in time, they got a lot of what you could call statistically valid data. And their data and the studies we looked at showed it's very clear students today, consumers for that matter, they want self-service capabilities. They don't want to talk on the phone. They don't want to have to pick up and dial somebody. They don't want somebody calling them if they don't have to, and they prefer to avoid it. In fact, if I would ask if it would be nice if I could see everybody, I'd ask you to raise your hands how many of you have unanswered emails, and I'd be willing to bet pretty much every hand would go up. And if I said how many have 5 or more, the hands would probably stay up. If I asked you how many have an unanswered text message, I would be willing to bet few, if any, hands would go up. And chatbots are a form of texting. And so it's a good way, it's a preferred way of the consumer, the student, wanting to interact. And it's a great tool on a number of fronts in how you can use it. And I would say that it being the preferred way is something you want to do. So, and again, to the one slide, it's across the board. You should have that opportunity wherever you can to help them have that option, and you learn from it. Let me put it that way. You get interactive. You collect data. Ellen's going to show you some great data here in a little bit that shows you some of the reports you can get and how you can see the students are behaving. What trends do you see in their behavior, and you can leverage that. And you can identify ways to improve not just that interaction, but the entire student experience based on what you're seeing. You can optimize your website based on what you're seeing, and so on. So there's some very good things there that I think make sense for you to look at where chatbots are concerned. And if we go to the next one, it's the other thing is about being on demand. This is one of the beauties of the chatbots and mobile apps is they're available 24/7. And to Carl's point, you know, the world is changing. One of the driving factors in higher education right now is we all have to figure out how to deliver quality higher education at a lower cost. Well, this is a low cost way to do that. You know, you can build up your library of responses over time, and more students can get their answers as needed by looking at this and leveraging these tools. And the best part is you free up those resources, the higher cost resources, the people, the staff, the faculty. These are your greatest assets. So you want to optimize them and have them working on more value add rather than answering, you know, repetitive questions that a bot can simply do for you. And it really adds to, like I said, not just the student experience, it also improves your staff and faculty experience, because they're now doing something more meaningful to them than dealing with these things. So it's not just about the student experience, it's about your organization's experience as well. And lastly, if we go on to the last slide, and this is really key, is you got to look at the entire experience. If we went back, and we don't need to, but on slide 11, where the question was, list all the departments where you're leveraging this, there was a key one that was not there, and I just noticed it as we were going through this. It's marketing. Marketing is a place where you want to use a chatbot, and you're thinking, well, how would I use that? Well, your website is one of the most powerful marketing tools you've got. And prospective students are now shopping more than they ever did before from multiple institutions, especially online students. They've got options around the country that they can tap into and choose from. And if they go to your website and it's stagnant, and it's 11 o'clock at night and they can't get an answer to a simple question because nobody's available, they're going to go to somebody else's who has it. So it's a very powerful marketing tool for you as well. You want them to have a positive experience. You want it to be interactive 24/7, because that's what they're doing. I would also suggest and consider different models on how you would leverage a chatbot. You know, for example, again, the positive student experience. You don't necessarily want a chatbot to not be able to answer a question without having a reasonable response when it runs into that. One of the things we did at University of Phoenix, for example, is if the bot was stumped, it would route to a live person who monitored the chat. And they would then step in to make sure that student experience is positive. If we've got repetitive questions being escalated to the live chatter, we then updated our library and we would be able to answer that question going forward. So over time, it gets better, it gets more efficient. And by the way, an effective human chatter can handle more than one chat at a time, 3, 5 at a time. So again, it becomes more efficient that way. So again, these are just the things that I would suggest you look at. Don't reinvent the wheel. And the nice thing is it doesn't matter how small you are. If you don't have enough historical information or statistically relevant data to do some analysis, again, there's been so much done on this. Go out and leverage best practices that have already been identified. Take those, build yours, work off of that. You know, use industry providers such as Black Belt, and you know that's how you can get up and running. And I think you'll see great benefit from it, as every place I've used it and seen it used, it has as well. Carl, back to you.
Great, Ron. Thank you for that. I just want to roll this last poll question for the day. With the existing features, does your current mobile application or AI chatbot help you achieve your goals? Yes or no? It's okay, but you know something is missing. So while you answer that, Ron, I just wanted to ask, you know, about this strategy you just mentioned, which is a good one. I mean, it really, especially the comment about marketing. You're absolutely right. We always focus on the academic and administrative operations, but can you talk just a little bit more about the marketing piece? You said that you have the public facing website, correct? So how does that enhance that?
So what we did is, the first thing we did is we actually did stand up a separate USciences Online website from the campus. Some institution, kind of like University of Maryland Global, Purdue Global, it's run as a separate entity with a separate website. And others like, Southern New Hampshire, it's all in one. So it really depends on your institution's strategy for that. But what we did when we stood it up, knowing that call it the non-traditional student, as it's usually called, the degree completers, the working adults, that's the primary market, looking for online education. That has shifted because of the pandemic. A lot of traditional students are now looking at it much more than they did before. But because of that, you've got them looking after hours when they're not at work, weekends. And if being a smaller institution with limited resources, as I built up the online, we needed to get scale to justify bringing in more resources and so on. Chatbot was a beautiful thing to add to our website. So we stood that up, and as students, come to the website and they're looking at our different online programs, they may have questions about tuition or the application, and even think about that as they click to fill out the application. You don't want them to get stumped on something on the application and leave. You want them to finish that. So you want a chatbot to be able to pop up and say, "Can I help you?" And so that's how you would use it in the marketing, research of your institution, at your website, all those type of things, and then help them transition into an application or even just an RFI, request for information, so that you've got them considering you. Whereas if you don't have that, they could leave and just go to someplace else where they get the kind of service and interaction that they were looking for.
Right. So that's interesting. It's an area where we don't always consider that, but the AI chatbots, and it's like having another employee in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
And it really adds. And the thing is, I remember when chatbots were first coming out. Let's chat. People, I'm not gonna, I don't want to go there. Now it's the opposite. Everybody wants to go there because they really have improved, and they really do enhance a website and make it more desirable for your online presence too.
Exactly.
Well, here's our latest poll results. Looks like with existing features as your current mobile app or AI chatbot help. Well, we got about 26% says yes, and 32%, a little bit more say not so much. And then looks like a lot of people it's okay, but really could use features or functionality that's not there. So, does the basics. And, there's so many competing options in this market. And so, finding the one that suits your institution is important. But even though they're basically essentially very similar type technologies, some are easier to use than others for sure. And, you also want to get reporting out of that. And I think that's what we'll talk about next with our next panelist. So thank you, Ron. And I would like to introduce our next panelist, Ellen Reyes, who is the Associate Vice Chancellor and Chief Technology Officer of Information Technology Services at the City College of San Francisco. So from the West Coast, Ellen Reyes, Associate Vice Chancellor, has more than 25 years of information technology experience in the public and private sectors, including roles at City College of San Francisco, UC San Francisco, and Oracle. At San Francisco State, she has led a number of critical infrastructure projects across campus, such as Wi-Fi augmentation, next generation firewall, common network infrastructure, and the virtual private network upgrade. Ellen, you sound like a very busy person. Can you, and I see you have that public and private IT experience, which is really valuable because you kind of have a foot in both sectors that one can inform the other and vice versa. And I always say, like, technology is the same basically between all sectors, but they're used very differently between sectors. So can you tell us a little bit about the City College of San Francisco?
Sure, and thank you, Carl, for the introduction. So City College of San Francisco was established as a public community college in 1935. It was established as a junior college at the time. And today, college plays an important local role annually enrolling as many as 1 in 9 San Franciscans. We offer unprecedented benefits to the local residents. We have a free city program where all of the San Francisco residents actually can attend the college for free. And we are considered a mid-sized institution. We enroll approximately about 8,000 undergraduate students, and we offer credit and non-credit classes, certification classes. We are a 2-year degree campus, and we also have over 300 professional certifications. So people can come for certification, or they come in for a small 1 semester, 2 semester class to improve their Java programming skills, or learn how to dance tango, or just take a pottery class. I am a student myself right now. I'm taking Spanish just because I'd like to, there's a lot of Latinx residents in the area, and a lot of my friends are also Latinx, and it's good to understand, another foreign language. And when the pandemic hit, of course, we went like the rest of the country into a quarantine, and of course we went into an online modality. So students, some of them are at a disadvantage because English is not their first language, usually would come to campus to obtain some help. And of course that no longer became an option, and people who typically would be sitting in their offices taking their incoming phone calls, that option also went away, and so we went completely online. And that's when the last spring semester, during the semester, we worked with Black Belt, and we've implemented the chatbot, and we called it Rocky the Ram. That's our mascot. And if you wander into the CCSF main website, you will see the Rocky the Ram on the right-hand lower hand, corner of the screen of every page. We started up small. If you can advance to the next slide, please. We started up very small. So for those of you who are wondering about the implementation details, you don't have to cover all the bases all over the departments. You have to figure out which ones are your critical ones, and where do you get how do you achieve a biggest impact? It could be one of some of your critical departments, student facing or employee facing. Those are the most critical usually. And the start for us was just 150 questions, and we've rolled it out only on 4 websites. And with the help of Black Belt, we've rolled out the chat in 3 weeks. So it was a fairly straightforward implementation. Very much with the help of the Black Belt, we really implemented in a very short time. And the benefits, as Ron just pointed out, the benefits are it's AI in its best. You have people communicating to the chat as if they were to the real person. The chatbot that we implemented also offers myriad of languages. So if someone is at a disadvantage, English is not their first language, it's in multiple languages. It's ADA compliant. If someone is visual hearing impaired, they can navigate to the portion of the chat where a question or answer will be read out to them out loud if they cannot see the screen. And we've built it from that small implementation to deploying it on every website that we have now, over 1,500 of them. And we are taking in quite a healthy load. In talking with associated students just last month, actually, they're thrilled to have the chatbot, because that allowed our students to go straight to the answer. They type out the question and they get an answer. Now, in the back end, of course, there's a bank of unanswered questions, which we are checking regularly. And of course, the bot needs to be trained. It's a bot, so it will only show what you teach the bot to do. So the knowledge base should be upkept. And we used Salesforce licenses to roll that out. I see the question in the chat. chat also spilled over to our voice bot. So when users are calling main critical numbers, we built some of the voice trees where if you're calling the bursar's office, press 1. If you're calling the to schedule appointment with a counselor, press 2. That took care of not overburdened, but very, very busy counselors who, instead of answering the phones, just get the appointments scheduled through the website on their schedule. So when they come into work, from 8 to 5, they know that they're meeting with so and so at so and so times. So
Ellen,
we take.
Ellen, so yeah, there is a chatbot question. Just while you're on that topic, Patricia Goldwick was asking, how do you measure your bot's accuracy? Do you measure at all helpfulness, I guess, is what she was asking.
Yes, so accuracy is measured by all the conversations are monitored in our platform. The conversations are recorded for review to see if the end user is satisfied with the answer. How do we know? We have this built-in feature that when the user is asking a question, how do I submit my vaccination record, for example, and a bot doesn't know anything about it because hasn't been trained yet. It's a new thing. The user asks it twice. After the second time, the user gets a menu. Please enter your contact information, and you are going to be rerouted to a live person. So it's tied into a live person. Now, we call it escalations. The number of escalations is what lets us measure the accuracy. If the call is not escalated, then the user has received the answer. If the call is escalated, then the user were not able to obtain the information that they asked. And that's the accuracy. So in average, we get about over 460 conversations per day, about 6 minutes per conversation. So imagine the amount of time the end users have saved. Instead of looking for that information all over the websites, just ask a question and you'll be directed to a website that has what you are looking for. Less than 1% of inquiries are. And I'm reading the question. Maybe I should get back to the questions or pause right now for the Q&A. What would you recommend, Carl?
Yeah, I would say I can ask. I'm seeing the questions too, so you can wrap up your last thought, and now we can dive right into the questions if you let's do that.
Okay.
Let's see. So the questions are. Last one is so please, Patricia. Is also asking, clarify what you mean by bot accuracy. So accuracy is really the lack of escalation, but
Correct.
guaranteed that the user got the answer they need. So how do you know that, using technology rather than a person, asking, answering these questions, that the student really got what they need?
Exactly. So out of 100, if 90% of chatbot questions were answered, then the accuracy is 90%. If 10 of them were escalated, then the accuracy is 90%. 10%, I should say, were escalated.
I think some of your follow-up charts actually show some of this.
Yes, it does.
Right.
I mean, follow-up charts, they're just real data. And if we have other questions, I'd be happy to entertain all of them at the end. I only have 3 slides.
Okay,
so
great. Well, let's continue on, and then we'll hit the rest of the questions. So just wanted to kind of address that one because, it's on this slide, which is really interesting. The 90% is great. And then the 1% escalated. I mean, those are great numbers. So it's doing its job. So we can talk more about this at the end. So I'll move on to the next slide. Ellen?
Yeah, so yes, so this data is probably from August, maybe July, August. This data is from this week, actually. I just want to say that, reiterate again, that all of the conversations you can you can go into the administrator's dashboard and you can find a particular conversation and see how it went. What did the user ask? What did the question that the users provided? How many unanswered questions are there? Now, unanswered question, they're cumulative. The 319 is not actually the number because the process we have is we have a revisit of, at the beginning, we were revisiting it daily, of course, because people, it's new technology, people want to know the answers, what the answers are. And there was an uptick in the actual escalations. Over the period of time as the bot became more intelligent, the questions were fewer and further between, and the cumulative number still kept in the bank. So 319 is cumulative number of unanswered, and we've been really accurately following through, and our partner, the Black Belt, have been following through very accurately with us to say, hey, this one is getting more attention. These questions on this topic are getting more attention. You might want to provide us more Q&A. Has anything changed? We have monthly executive briefings where we will hand over another bank of Q&As, continuously training the bot. As I mentioned, we started with 150 questions. Now we're in a bank probably nearing 1,100 questions and answers in only a short, less than 6 months that it's been live, which I think is a pretty good success. And accuracy went up as the bot became smarter. Fewer and fewer escalations were made, what the live chat, there's not anyone in the institution. We have a Black Belt contract where they provide services to our users 24/7, 365. There's always someone there. Day, night, weekend, anytime. So 2 questions or the questions not answered twice in a row, and an automated form pops up here. Fill up your information, please, and automatically the ticket will be created and routed to the service desk. So CSAT, as you can see, users are pretty happy. 4 out of 5. I will take that. It's a 5-star scale. And next slide, please. So this is some statistics. As you can see, we started off in March with 100% accuracy because we didn't know any better. Then it dipped a little bit, and the bot accuracy, it gradually had become to the 97, almost 98 percentile. So that is a learning process for the bot, something to be aware. To answer the question as I'm reading it, yes, the Black Belt and us, we are getting together. We have weekly and monthly sync ups, and if something is new rolling out, like, for example, vaccination mandate, we just had this meeting this morning to say we're rolling something new out. Here's the new Q&As, and here's the process. Here's what we've introduced to our customers. If you get questions, you know how to handle them. We work very closely. And as you can see on the left-hand side, sessions by month, just in the month of August, that was our registration months for the fall. Just in the month of August, the chat handled over 8,000 interactions. Imagine if those were all phone calls to our very small counselors team and support team. That would have totally overwhelmed us if we had to handle 8,000 sessions, in 1 month. This is also the word cloud. It provides us with a little bit of additional analytics to signal that people are mostly asking questions about admissions or registration or records, so that we can work with the proper departments to maybe evaluate what questions have been received and add more Q&As or make them more precise to answer the questions, excuse me, to answer the questions about admissions, registration, or records. And I believe, go ahead and advance. I believe that was the last of my slides. And are there any Q&As that I may have missed?
Yep, I'm going to review those right now. So it looks like you did answer some of these questions. One of them here is, well, one question was, how do you train your bot? And you think you reviewed that, right? You have these monthly meetings and you input the information as it changes. You analyze the data, then you make adjustments. Another question, in terms of staffing, which is always interesting, how many staff members are involved in monitoring or managing the voice bot chatbot?
So because we have this wonderful system that provides us with a succinct, here are the questions that have not been answered, go ahead and answer them. It depends, we can pull 1 or 2 members of the staff depending on which area it's from, or we can, in majority of cases, we can find answers from the websites because the websites are updated by individual departments, and we can just do a little very quick search and train the bot right there and then. It doesn't take that many resources, it doesn't take that much time. You just got to keep an eye on it and make sure that the information provided, the way that we've done it, which is the best way to do is, for example, the question, when is the registration begin? You don't want to provide a date because that will be a constant maintenance of the date. Date changes year in, year out, semester in, semester out. What you want to do is you want to create a website with all the important dates where people can find not only the registration, but also when the payment is due, when the first day of classes, etc. And when someone's asked, when is the registration date, you point them to that website so that the individual department can maintain the website information, but the chatbot will help people find it faster. So it doesn't really, it's kind of long-winded answer, but you kind of want to be smart about how you train it and what kind of answers you give to the questions.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing about the support of monitoring. But I have, now that it's up and running, I have one person on my team who monitors it maybe once a week. It is not a daily activity. It's not a full-time job. Yeah, and to Alan's point, you get the reports that you can pull down, on demand and see how things are going. So it's really not that much of an issue, from a resource standpoint, once you have it up and running properly.
There's a couple of questions there about the platform. Let me just say that first of all, we contracted with the Black Belt for the help desk services. They're using Salesforce. We do not manage that platform. We only pay for the licenses and we pay for the interactions. Now, it just happens that we had some extra licenses and we decided to use it for the chatbot project, and they were already paid for because they come in a certain number. And in 3 weeks' time, we had a bot. So that was great.
Yeah, if I could, there was one question on here that I think I'm not sure if it was answered, about what if a question gets, a chat gets escalated and nobody's available?
Yeah, and I answer that
okay. Yeah, good.
We have, Black Belt contract is 24/7, 365. There's always someone there, and they've been actually very good at answering if the ticket is created and the email is sent via email, for example.
Right.
Within 2 hours, it's reviewed. If it's a phone call, 60 seconds.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to add on to that. I'm not contracted to have somebody there all the time. What we do, and I did this, also at Phoenix, if we get to a point where nobody's available, they're all busy, or in the case of USciences, we don't, staff around the clock 24/7. If we get to a question that can't be answered, the chatbot is trained to ask, their information so that we can reach out to them. As soon as somebody is available, we will contact them. And of course, by responding to that, they're giving us permission to reach out to them, whether that's via email, a phone call, or a text. So you can do that as well.
Hey, Ron, real quick, we have a question about from Barry Shepard, who asked, I get the chatbot, but how critical is an app to marketing? I would think students don't want an app on their phone until they know they are a student at the school.
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of, the ways to look at that. Yeah, I would agree. They don't want to download an application until they're enrolled for the most part. I would agree with that. But you do want to have a mobile representation of your website, and the same thing. If I'm on my phone or my laptop or my tablet, I want to be able to look at my institution's website and have a chatbot there, regardless of what type of device I'm on. So I think if that answers the question, I think that's still very important. But am I going to download multiple institutions' applications? Probably not. I'm going to do that when I'm enrolled and download so that I can get into the LMS and take my courses on a mobile app, a mobile phone, if I so choose to do it that way, or tablet.
Right, and that this kind of goes into how you're designing these tools and how they're changing, how we started this presentation out. The content is centralized, hopefully, and these tools manage and access the content. And these tools are designed with responsive design, right? I'm sure everyone's heard of websites and the responsive design, meaning you can use it on a tablet, on a desktop computer, on a mobile phone, right? So the way these tools are designed is that they'll be able to be used on any one of these platforms.
Correct.
Okay, there's another question from Philip Reed. He asked about the source data for the chatbot. What's the source data for the AI? Is it fed by the web content that exists in the college domain or from the document repository, or is it standard questions and predetermined answers?
It's really a combination. It's completely up to you where you keep the your information. And you can refer to either a document. Somebody is asking for a document, download it here if you have a repository, or if someone's asking for some information, you can point them at the website.
Yeah, another question is getting started. I think you're going to say, Ellen, the same thing here. Is just like you can start with as much or as little as you want. And I think the question was saying, how many questions should I start with? Just to roll out, say, a chatbot.
So the way we've gone about this, we went to identify which are your key services that are perhaps in need of some support like that, because this is a support tool to internal resources. It's not a replacement for internal resources. It's a support, a help tool. So go to your bursar's office, go to your student services, one-stop help desk for students, or even your help desk, and ask them a simple question. What are the top, 25 questions that you are getting so many times at the beginning of each registration or at the end of each semester that you are sick of answering the same question 25 times a day? Tell us what those questions are and what do you normally tell people? How do you direct them to where do you direct? And start there. And if you just decide to roll this out on bursar's office website or just the service desk website, that's a very small beginning. And as you get more questions and more conversations in with other departments, then you can roll it out gradually. And when you get typically to about 600 to 700, then you can just let it be on every website, because at that point, the chat is not a baby anymore. It's kind of like a toddler, you can train it more from there.
That's great. And then there's another question also. So you talked about the starting point. Now we'll probably go to the other opposite extreme, about really embedding it into your information or content infrastructure and how much information can be provided back to the student. We talked earlier about chatbots and mobile apps that can provide, maybe static information or basic information, and then others that can contain customized and detailed information. So questions here are, the source data for the chatbot, the source data, where is it coming from? Where is it contained? Is it from multiple places? And is it fed by the web content that exists in the college's domain or from a document repository, or is it standard questions? The other thing is, can it integrate with other systems? Like what systems can it integrate with, say a CRM or a student information system?
So yes to all is the short answer. You can be as flexible with it as you'd like. My experience with a mobile app rollout, we haven't done much at CCSF. We're doing right now with the vaccination mandate, but it's a slightly different approach where in the mobile app you have tiles, so to speak, that are actually providing students with very specific service. Pay tuition here, or check your schedule here, because mobile app is basically providing students more with the information about themselves, my schedule, my tuition, my professors, etc. whereas the chat box is more of general information, and you can point, we have some, for example, government guidelines for financial aid. If someone doesn't know where to find it, but we know because we use it for guidance, right? You can just plug something.gov as an answer and redirect people to the external website where they can read all about financial aid, their heart's content. But if they want to apply for financial aid, you can redirect them to financial aid office, where there's an online application and a form that they can actually go and either download or fill out online. So there is a lot of flexibility that you can have.
Great answer. And just going to wrap up with this last question because we're getting to the top of the hour here. This question is back to your comment, Ellen, and Ron, welcome any input from you on this question too about ADA compliance. And the question here specifically talked about, say, hearing impaired. This is from Philip again, and he's asking, well, how does that work for students or users that are hearing impaired? And I'm just going to guess that the system is designed to effectively work with end user applications and websites, like there's JAWS, as a web browser that's used in for some people with disabilities. But can you speak to anything about ADA compliance with this chatbot or mobile app, whatever you're doing in those areas?
Well, I can say about the chatbot that we've employed is in the ADA compliant, and just like all of our websites, just like all of our public content that we publish is ADA compliant. The tool is ADA compliant and caters to students with disabilities. And Ron, if you want to comment on the mobile app.
Yeah, same with us. Yeah, absolutely. Our websites, our LMS, everything is compliant.
Right. And just another quick question while we're on the topic of interacting, and how these technologies are getting more specific, more intelligent, and able to interact with the end users. We know that we're trying to get to, in terms of authentication, passwordless authentication. It's very cumbersome and difficult, trying to remember passwords for multiple systems sometimes, and keeping them as complex as they need to be for security purposes. So there is, biometrics and, other ways, facial recognition for authenticating. But in terms of chatbots, is there any natural language features that you've heard about, or are you planning to implement?
So because the chatbot is on a publicly facing media, we don't have any stipulations for using it, because anybody could wander into the main website and start asking questions if prospective students, donors, even the alumni, they're no longer having the credentials to log in to the tool, but if they're asking for more information, especially for a college like ourselves, which we offer non-credit classes. So students really are welcome to browse and ask any sorts of questions. Now, if they get to the website with protected content, that's a whole another story. That's when they would have to log in to use LMS, for example, tool, because then it would assume that we'd assume that they are students and they'd have to authenticate. Mobile app might be a little bit different. Ron, you want to chime in on that?
I really don't know. I really don't have any details on that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, typically mobile app bears a branding of the college, and you do need credentials to log in, and it could be a multi-factor enabled with fingerprint or whatnot. There's, again, flexibility in that.
That's great. Well, thank you for Ron and Ellen for the great insight. I think we covered everything from strategy to current use to some future-looking features of where AI chatbots and mobile apps will be going. We're going to keep an eye on that here at Campus Consortium and report back on that as these changes occur. Also, I would like to say that we do have a current in-kind grant with Blackboard Health happens to be one of our partners. Happy to talk with you about that if you want to explore that. And I want to thank the Ron and Ellen for being excellent presenters today that really gave us great insight into their institutions and their strategies, and really have demonstrated their leadership expertise at, kind of rolling these tools out in their institutions. And I'm sure they're netting excellent results and meeting student expectations. Any questions we missed or extra ones that we didn't get to today, we're going to collect those up. We'll send them over to Ron and Ellen for answers and get them back to the audience that's attended today. Also, we'll get the PowerPoint out and the presentation to everyone. So again, thank you for taking the time today. Much appreciated. And if we can help in any way at Campus Consortium, either making connections or advising you in your ed tech endeavors, please reach out to info@campusconsortium.org. Thanks, everybody, and have a safe and great rest of the day.